Welcome back to the Real Estate Huddle. We're on episode 114, where we are going to help you set some great New Year's resolutions for real estate. And most New Year's resolutions start in January and they end in February for most people. But real estate New Year's resolutions stick with you for a little bit longer if you do it right. And so we're going to talk about that today. What areas should you be focusing on if you're setting some goals for real estate in 2026? And what are some practical ways that you can do this and make some headway in this tough affordability market to be able to prepare yourself to either buy a home or maybe upgrade your home so that you can meet your real estate goals this year. So we're going to start out with goal number one, which is building up your down payment. So what are some ways that we can successfully do that?
I think that the first one is dispelling all myths of that you need a huge down payment of 20% or more. Mm-hmm. That is not a thing anymore. That's like way archaic, and that just...
It's awesome if you do it.
Yeah, if you have 20%, go for it. Or save some of that cash and just go to 3 to 10%. I don't know. You can do a lot with 20% down. Mm-hmm. But that's just a very old type thinking, and there's so many programs that I'd say 95% of people don't even know about. And starting with the down payment. Don't worry about 20%.
Typical down payments are 3 to 5% for first-time home buyers. That's what most people do for their first home. And then repeat buyers tend to be 5 to 10%. So you'll get some people that move up and then they use some of their equity to pay off debt, pay off student loans, credit card debt, all kinds of things. And then they just put 5 to 10% into their next place when they probably could put 30 to 40% in. And then there's other people that are very financially conservative that put as much as they can into their home so that their payment's lower and frees them up to live the lifestyle that they want. So there's a few different ways to approach this whole concept. But I
also think at the end of the day, like, I have a lot of friends who they're saving, and it's just like this. There's no, I think, like, end in sight. I feel like
Yeah.
And so I think if you kind of know what your budget is a little bit, it's better to like put 3 to 5% down and have something and start building equity than, I feel like to wait for whatever reason, or, wait until you feel like you have enough saved, because it's probably better to get in something and be in it for a little bit.
Yeah.
100%.
Than it is just to like save until you feel like you're ready. Cause it's probably one of those things like you're never going to be you're never going to feel fully ready.
Yeah.
Yep. So
going in with a game plan it's very important. So like step one in this process would be talking to a lender and going through all your finances, trying to figure out what you can afford, and based off that, plan what you want your down payment to be. And if you already have that, great. Like, get after it, go for it. But you can have all the money in the world, but still not qualify for the house that you want with the amount of money that you have. It just depends on like what your price point is and how much money you have in the bank and things like that. So there's a couple factors. So talk to a lender as soon as you can if you're deciding that you want to do that this next year, because they will plan all that financial stuff for you.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah. And some advice too, like, and we're not financial planners, but the advice that we would give that we've seen a lot of times works for buyers that are buying their first home is to put their down payment money in a high yield savings account that's getting somewhere between 2 and 6% usually in interest. And there's a lot of options out there now that interest rates for mortgages have gone up and that yield has gone up. It's created higher savings percentages for people as well. So look at credit unions, look at small banks that are offering like some good deals to get money over to them. And you can get, make a lot of money on your money without doing anything, which is nice. And so just being focused with that is great. Some people will put their money into the stock market or into things that end up tanking on them, and there's just high volatility. You can hit a home run, or you can also lose your shorts in the stock market with how up and down things have gone, with that even this year. And so, and the stock market tends to be, it's kind of high right now, like the Dow and a lot of the numbers are showing some record highs, which is a little scary to me because what comes up oftentimes must go down in the stock market. So you got to be smart with that. And keep it away from high risk situations. Don't just have cash under your pillow.
Well, cash at home can be a problem because you can't necessarily verify your funds, showing that you have proof to make a down payment for a loan. If they see that you don't have anything in your bank and it's all under your mattress, your bank's gonna be like, I'm not going to give you a loan. Sorry, we're not going to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's got to be somewhere where it's visible for these loan officers and these banks to see.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think like, and Gabby can touch on this too, but she was talking about earlier, like hide money from yourself, yourself. So basically just
Great
like,
advice.
Yeah, like if you get, a paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever, like the 2 times out of the year where you're getting paid that extra amount, you can like kind of put that in a savings account, or, maybe you set aside a certain amount for savings every month. So then you kind of aren't even really thinking about it. Or any bonuses you get, that you can set aside, and then, kind of check it quarterly and be surprised versus checking it like once a week or once a month and kind of being fanatic about it.
Right.
Like check it and be excited and see, kind of surprise yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of already have it set out or know that it's coming out of your check, as opposed to like saying you're going to put money in.
Yeah.
Because I know how that goes for me. So I feel like other people may have similar experiences.
Yep.
No.
For sure.
So hide money from yourself.
Yeah.
The automatic stuff, set it and forget it, is the best because you don't have to think about it and you don't have to make the decision, right? The decision's made for you. And I've seen people just open up separate bank accounts. So you're truly hiding your money, like not just an account within the same bank, but like different bank, like that money's
I do that all the
transferring
time.
from one to another.
My
Yep.
savings is in this one bank that I never go to. That's different from my checking.
Yeah.
So even
That's
when I
perfect.
like think about it, I'm like, it's kind of far. Like I just won't.
Or it's like hard to get the money out because let's say if you like have a debit card, but your debit card is like not with you at all times, then you're like, like it's gonna be a whole thing to like,
I think successful people intentionally make it hard for them to go in reverse, right, with their savings. And they make it easy and automatic for you to continue to develop a savings account. So I think that's a really good tip. That's awesome. Well, let's talk about credit. Credit's the next step as far as goals go. Some people are really struggling with credit right now with the affordability crisis that we've been in over the last 3 years with all the inflation that we've seen. So having a credit score, you guys, that's 680 and above saves you so much money on interest. You get dinged a lot if you're under 680. And so 720, 740, 780, all other tiers, that you can get. 780 or up is the highest tier of credit. And so even if you're at like 755, there's room for improvement. And you can jump up to that next tier so that you can get the top tier interest rate and you're not getting docked. So that's a great way to go is focus on that credit report. And so here's some small, simple steps that you can do to create ideal credit for you. And the first thing is just get a free credit report. It's totally free. Then you can get it from the credit bureaus directly if you want, like Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax are willing to give those to you.
I use Credit Karma. Have you ever done Credit Karma?
Credit Karma is great.
Credit Karma has I think there's like a slight discrepancy in the credit score, but it gives you a roundabout. It goes through TransUnion and Equifax, and it shows you what your score is there. But I think from what I've been told, there's a few point discrepancy. It's still pretty accurate, but you can get an idea of where you're sitting credit wise at any given time.
Yeah.
So,
and one of the biggest keys is just keeping your revolving balances on your credit cards below 30% of what the actual max is. And so that's where most people are struggling right now is they've had to build that up and they're not able to pay them off every month. And so they're paying minimum payments and then that just keeps on revolving up and up and up. And so the more you can try to avoid that, the better your credit score is going to be. Try to avoid new credit card accounts constantly. Every time you go to department stores, they're going to ask you the question, do you want to sign up for this? Most of the time that should be a no. And then furniture financing, financing different things that you could pay cash for, like just avoid that as much as you can, paying interest. I'm kind of a sucker sometimes for 0% financing because
I'm always a sucker for 0%. It's like free money at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's same as cash.
As long as you pay it off by the time that free financing isn't building interest.
Well, you have to evaluate the time value of money, right, and see if it makes sense to you. But
And that builds your credit.
Yeah. Yep.
If you're making on-time payments with 0% financing, it's only on the up and up for you.
If you don't have very many credit accounts, then that can be a really good thing for your credit score. So it's balancing that, and then not closing, like
That's a big one.
shutting down old credit cards.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, oh, I'll fix my credit by just tearing up or like calling and canceling my old credit card accounts.
Don't do that.
But you want to keep those because your longevity of your credit score, your history, is actually a factor in your overall credit score.
What a stupid system.
Yeah. I know.
Oh my gosh.
You have to borrow and you have to pay it back.
Yeah. And don't close the account.
Then we'll
don't
trust
do
you,
it.
but
Yeah.
keep it
Because you
revolving.
might use it
Yeah.
again.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're banking on you
That's
using it
what they're
again.
hoping.
Yeah, and then once you do use it again, oh yeah, it's just freaking stupid.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird system, and it's a little,
Yep.
it's obviously it has a commercial mindset behind it, right?
It's all business benefited.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think sometimes your bank app says what is affecting your credit. So like if you are like, man, I'm trying to get my credit up, what's going on? Why is it the same number every month? And whatever. Then you can kind of look at those steps and it'll say, you don't have enough credit or you whatever, So that's kind of, if you're having a hard time like improving your credit and you don't understand why, those can be some good tips too.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And then I think just making a gratitude journal so you're grateful for what you have, so you don't have to always continue to make that next big purchase, right?
Yeah.
And like being like, it's good to have ambitions and goals and stuff, but if those are taking the place of you owning real estate, which can be like one of your greatest assets over time to create wealth for you, then time to like really hone in on gratitude and of material things, and then see if you can achieve these bigger goals by avoiding some of these other pitfalls. Next would be our debt to income ratio. That's another really important thing that every lender looks at. They add up all your income and they divide it by your debt. And so that ratio on conventional loans, it's like 43% is what they can go up to. On FHA loans, they can go all the way up to like 59.5% in some cases. And so it's really important to try to get the lowest debt to income ratio possible. And the lower you are, actually the better rate you get. So your DTI, or debt to income ratio, also has to do with the rate that you receive along with your credit score. So if you're maxed out on your DTI, but you have a really strong, excellent credit score, you're still going to get dinged a little bit on that. So
Yeah, and that kind of goes along. I feel like it's like you're saving, but then you also want to like try to pay off your card, try to pay off your student loans, credit cards, like any, or if you have like the furniture, whatever you have, like try to pay those off. That'll free up some money so that you have more to spend on that like monthly payment. So it's kind of important to like save and also pay off those bigger transactions.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, and the ones that hurt the most, right, are those car payments,
Yep.
student loans, credit cards. So if you can keep those off your record as much as possible, or just limit them so that they're smaller, that'll help your DTI quite a bit. And then it's just a real thing. Like drift or lifestyle creep is a very real thing. It's usually not like the big purchase that you make. It's like the little things that you continue to do that pile up like a hill, that creates that debt monster in your life. So the more you can have discipline, have a plan, and keep your plan like by budgeting, that's a huge way to avoid that. No matter how much money you make, the lifestyle creep continues to happen. Even for people that are high earners,
Never stops.
they still have those issues. So, the real action step is pay off the high payment, low balance debts first, and get those out of the way. Okay, the lenders will look at your payment, your minimum payment amount. So whichever one has the highest minimum payment, that's the one that you should pay off completely first, so that completely goes away, and then focus on the other ones. Okay. But you have to also pay attention to which am I paying the most interest on. So if you have a 24% credit card compared to a 16% credit card, I would pay the 24% credit card off first, because that one's hurting you the most and sending you backwards. So I think that's important to look at too. And then also delay new car purchases until after closing. So just know that's if you need a new vehicle, trying to minimize the amount monthly that you're paying as much as you can until after a closing. That's huge. And then just time, like if you can for work, income wise, like think about how you can generate more income, right? As far as, is there a side business that you can do? Is there something else that you can do to create more money in your life or add more value to what you're doing in your job or that sort of thing? Those can all contribute towards that income side of things. And then avoiding temporary debt that just becomes permanent debt. And we see just there's so many people that end up, putting some money on credit cards and then they can't pay it down. And then that turns into, before you know it, $60,000, $80,000 worth of credit card debt. I think the average American is about at $30,000 in credit card debt. So it's not uncommon to see that, but the more you can avoid it and get out of it by paying more than the minimum payment and get that behind you, the better you'll be.
Yeah, once all those finances and stuff, those are all set to go, your next goal isn't so much the money as it is just knowing what to do next, like the knowledge of the market. So understanding your local market it's a big thing. Most people, I think people always are afraid to ask the simple questions sometimes because they think they're going to be stupid or they're going to look dumb. But those simple questions are super important. Ask away. If it's your first time, like that's why your realtor's there, is to hold your hand and make sure that you know everything about the market possible. So while you're waiting, like ask those questions. Get to know your realtor really well. Understand what the market looks like, what the season of the market looks like, all that good stuff. So obviously, with the understanding of things, you want to be in the like understanding price trends versus list prices, days on market. That one's a big one. Days on market. The longer your house is on the market or a listing is on the market, typically, the lower the price is going to be, or you're going to see more price reductions and price adjustments. Price reductions is another one, which is correlated to that days on market. So price reductions, at least how we usually model our listing strategy on is like every 2 weeks, if we're not seeing major showings or offers or like a lot of activity, that's typically when we try to make a 1% reduction. And the more and more you see that, the bigger the price reduction you see on those listings, typically the more motivated those sellers are going to be. So looking for those can be somewhat of a diamond in the rough. And being able to negotiate even more so comes into play. And then seasonal shifts, that's all like real estate in general. It's busier at one time during the season, slower at another time. And typically the spring season is like our busy season. And then after like the 4th of July, we see kind of a dip in the market and we call it the summer lull. And then we kind of hike back up after, kids get into school and a little bit more developed and like that September or October timeframe. And then once the holidays kind of roll around, then we kind of go back down to a little more quiet again. And sometimes that can change, but those are, that's a really brief surface analysis, but those are the kind of things that you really want to dive deep into so that when your realtor's like, hey, like, this, or like, hey, we need to get going or whatever. That way you kind of understand like, oh, that's probably why. It's because they're seeing price reductions or, we're coming in the spring market or we're in the summer lull. It's a great time to buy or things like that. We're not just saying stuff just to push you. Well, most people aren't saying stuff just to push you to buy something. It's more along the lines of like, hey, we want to get you the best deal. And so hopefully you'll understand that with the more knowledge you have. Just gives you more power.
Yeah. Sometimes waiting can put you behind too. It can hurt you more than it's helping you.
Yep. Oh yeah, 100%.
And I think it's important to like have an agent that you are like continuously talking to. So even if you're a year out, I think there's a lot of people out there that's like, oh, I have to call a real estate agent when I'm going to buy tomorrow when I have enough money and I talk to a lender and all this stuff. When I think it's good just to like kind of have one that you trust that's on call that you can ask questions to because, something good to know is like, what neighborhoods do I want to live in? What is important to me? And I think those are questions that maybe the average person doesn't know the answer to until they talk to an agent, and then an agent can kind of provide you with the right area, kind of talk about that price point. And sometimes you have to see a couple houses to even know what's important. So, it's like okay to look at houses without saying I'm going to buy a house tomorrow,
Yeah.
you know, but just to kind of like get your foot in the door and start saving, and then you know what you're saving for.
Definitely. Yeah, it's true. And the importance of like talking to local experts, you know, and looking at YouTube videos from local people like in your market that aren't just giving national headlines. Because
Yeah.
so often the national headlines will be a different narrative and sometimes with agendas, right? So it's like the local people that really have their boots on the ground, they tend to know more about what's going on in the market and giving you real numbers. That's the type of person you want to find. So awesome. And then last but not least is just clarifying like your location and lifestyle choices. So you want to really make sure you know what you want when you go into buying a home. And you know, most buyers after they buy, they regret location more than the house itself. And that's because we think most people get enamored by the upgrades before they really eliminate location first. So we try to have our buyers really eliminate location first before they start walking through homes. And then they get a feel for, you know, what upgrades they like, what they don't like, that sort of a thing, so they don't get in the wrong location. And then what's your preference? You know, do you like being up in the mountains in the foothills, you know, in the suburbs? Do you like being more in the city, close to downtown? Do you like your commute? Are you okay with 5, 10, 30 minutes? You know, what feels good to you? Maybe you love listening to our podcast and driving 45 minutes to work and listen to 2 of our episodes maybe. You know, most people don't. Most people like
What? Don't say that.
No, I mean, most people like 15-minute or less, you know, commutes. Most people love our podcast, I think.
Of course.
But yeah, like, you know, it's important to like value those things that you truly, that make you happy, right? And to me, like a short commute makes me happy. I love podcasts, but I want to listen to them at the gym, not while I'm driving in traffic and honking at people. So, you know, it's those things you have to consider first before you just dive in, you know, to this. So for an action step there, what are some things that people can do to be ready for that?
I think it's good to have like a list of kind of like must-haves and nice-to-haves, which again, kind of going back to like what I was talking about earlier, like you might not know what those are until you talk to an agent and see a couple houses. But I think if, you know, there's some people where it's like, I have to have a garage, like no questions asked, you know, but maybe a good view I can be lenient on, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Yeah. So those are good things to think about. And I think that list, maybe it's really quick for some people to create. Maybe it kind of takes a while for some people to create. So, and I think you might surprise yourself when you write things down and say, oh, how much do I actually care about this? I could live without it.
Yeah.
You know, and you might surprise yourself with some of those answers.
Definitely. Yeah. No, that's a good point.
I think ranking your neighborhoods with like the categories of like lifestyle, commute, and community are pretty important. Just, you know, understanding what type of lifestyle you want. Yeah, obviously we've talked about how long your commute is. And then the community itself, like, you know, whether it's just your subdivision or the city you want to live in or whatever, make sure you're understanding, you know, if you have kids, if that's a good place to have kids, or if you're, you know, 2 singles or just single yourself, is that going to be the spot that's really going to feed your lifestyle the best, right? So, and then visiting those areas, when you do find those areas, making sure you understand what they look like morning, evening, on the weekends. And that includes the commute, what the house looks like during the daytime versus the nighttime, with like the lighting and things like that. And then like on the weekend with like, that's the same thing, like traffic, with everybody being home, what that neighborhood looks like kind of during the hustle and bustle and things like that. So there's a lot of factors that go into that, but yeah, it's just good to have that game plan going into it and understanding what you're going to look for.
For sure. Yeah. And you want to build your team, right? Your team of professionals early. Most people think like, I'm just going to wait until I'm ready to buy, right? But you really want to talk to a lender, talk to a realtor, a professional that has a lot of knowledge in the market, because they can be a huge resource for you, even up to 18 months before you're ready to go buy a house. And the reason for that is you can plan, you can learn, you can start this process, and they can connect you to great resources to be able to be 100% ready. And it'll probably speed up your timeline. The earlier you talk to professionals, the faster your timeline will probably move along, because you can get connected to the knowledge that you need. And so that's huge.
And realtors want to talk to you too. I feel like that's a common misconception is people don't want to feel like they're bothering us or something, but we actually really want you to talk to us. And
It is our job.
yeah, it is our job.
Yep.
Like even if it takes a few months or whatever, like we don't expect you to just show up with cash and say, I want to buy a house today.
Yeah.
That's almost never the case.
I agree.
So,
Well,
There's some bad realtors that just only want to talk to you when they're ready to do a sale, right? But
Yeah.
if it's a good realtor, they'll be willing to talk to you for years before you do anything and give you advice.
When
and
I
then you're able to build that relationship as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't think people realize that. I would much rather work with a client that is like prepared, that is asking me questions for the sake of like making their job and my job easier.
Yeah.
Not that I'm lazy, but it makes the process so much more fun.
Yeah.
And there's not like it eliminates not all but some of the surprises that can come up when going through this process and the transaction, and they're just as prepared as they can be to push through some of the walls or do whatever. It just makes the job that much easier for all parties involved when you prepare yourself. So I'd much rather you call me and ask me questions and get that done because I know you're doing your homework.
Yeah.
So
Yep, absolutely.
And I think a lot of agents like keep in touch with their clients after
Yeah.
the transaction also. So, I mean, think of this as just like building a relationship, and you're building a relationship before you buy the house, and then during the process of buying the house, and then even after. And, I think after the fact, agents can help you if something does go wrong in your house or if you need something fixed or whatever. And I think a lot of people don't know that either. So this
Yeah.
is a good relationship to have. And you are probably, hopefully going to be talking to your agent for several years before and after
Yeah.
the transaction.
Yep.
Definitely. Yep.
that's the goal.
And that's totally normal.
That's the
yeah,
goal.
Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Become friends and close relationships.
Yeah.
That's kind of the goal at the end of it. So
Definitely. Yeah. And then beyond that, some bonus things that like ready buyers can start learning about is assumable loans, a big one. So you can try to score a great interest rate. First time home buyer programs is another one to look at. You should also be looking at understanding like how seller concessions work. Maybe a new word for you, but it's just simply like seller paid closing costs for buyers during a real estate transaction. And then track interest rates without obsessing about them. So you can't like be a teeter-totter of emotions, right? Just be aware of where interest rates have been, where they are now, and where they're going potentially. And then make sure you plan for your loved ones too, like your kids, any job changes that might happen. Think about those things. Remote or hybrid work, what's important to you there, and what does your home need to look like because of that? And then school districts too, like what's important to you as far as that goes. You don't want to get locked into a place and then you're in the wrong school district and it's not good for your family. So those are all good things to consider. And buying a home in 2026 doesn't start midway through 2026. It needs to start like right now, so that you can make sure to make the proper preparations so that you're ready for that time and you can create that amazing goal to happen in your life and come to fruition. So we're here for you. If you need help with that, if you would like to bounce ideas off of us, plan with us, we're more than happy to send you like this rubric, that you can plan around with action steps. And so if you'd like that, definitely comment or reach out below, and we'd be happy to talk to you about that and get you all connected so that we can help you get into that home and achieve that amazing goal of home ownership. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.